Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I bankrupt joined once again by Jimmy and Jake.
Prove it.
What's going on, y'all?
And today's matchup is Jimmy versus Jake, and occasionally you'll see my hands in the video because I had to buy. Today's matchup is Android 17, or more or less, Warriors of Universe 7, taking on, this is Expert Deck 21. But before going further, I just want to point out this golden leader is absolutely amazing, especially when you apply the case on top. This is from TCG Metals. This, like, the leader itself looked good until Jimmy put the case on, and it just like, whoa. Like, having that that 3D effect there was pretty nice.
Yeah. Again, not sponsored by by TCG Metals.
Just
very good friends of the channel. We did purchase the various metal leaders that you might see soon. We did purchase those with our own money. They do
just like what they do.
Yeah. We just like what they do, and we're gonna give them shout outs because they're really sick.
Yeah. You'll see a close-up look of that leader in Jimmy's profile later this week. But there's buttons, there's links, description. Guys, this is a very fast video because how long it took, so let's go over it.
What the fuck is there to go over?
Well, we haven't seen use Warriors Universe 7 set 20s on the channel when it comes to gameplay. And we haven't seen Expert 21 in a while, so talk about also the changes with that deck, with the new set. So everyone's take it first.
I guess 21 because it's active player.
No, I'm about to pass. So I'll pass to you, Jake.
All right. So Invoker 17 kind of like takes some of the old Invoker stuff and meshes it with a lot of these new cards from set 20. I really like the way the deck plays overall, even if it can be a little bit clunky and you have to employ some of these cards like Frieza here in order to really get full value out of what the deck can do. But you do have access to a lot of really powerful stuff. And here I know I'm kind of in the control on control matchup, so it's going to be a long game, so I might as well draw some cards. But basically the deck wants to play with Arrival and then use the cards it arrives to activate Invoker. And then unlike old Invoker, where you really kind of wanted it on the table during the late game to kind of help close things up, this deck really wants Invoker active pretty much as early as possible and then try and use that Invoker skill to take control of the game and kind of shift from back and forth between an aggressive and controlling style.
Yeah, there's a lot of branching paths that you can take with 17, which is really interesting to me and kind of makes me want to play the deck a little bit. But to talk a little bit about Expert 21, it does have the gimmick of the energy manipulation of popping an energy, relaying, cycling cards from the drop area, playing cards from the energy, and getting effects based off of that. And the deck can do a lot of really cool things. It's just sometimes a little difficult to get there, and we've gotten a lot of great Android support and a lot of great promos that help the deck get to those areas. And once the deck kind of gets established, it kind of can just do anything. It's kind of one of the jack of all trades decks where it has Unison Hate in the form of Key Channeler. It can clear a field. It can deal a lot of damage. It can, it just does a lot. It can do hand control.
Set 20 really elevated to the next level. I used to love playing this deck beforehand, and like just seeing it now is disgustingly good, I feel like.
Oh yeah. Mainly because of like this card, Android 21 Trading Places. There was a minor misplay there. You have to pitch a multicolor card to the drop area, which I had one there. I just grabbed the wrong card. But the and then I would have been able to return the Zamas to the hand because the card that goes back to the hand can be anything. But Trading Places is a new promo, and the card is disgustingly good in the deck because it pitches energy to the drop area, it returns the energy to the hand, and then you can lay another energy, and then the 21 leader auto procs to draw you a card, and then reset an energy from the drop area. your floating effect to untap during your opponent's main phase, that will persist through the rest of the next turn. So if I activate Key Channeler like I'm doing right now to reset and proc the auto again, I will get to untap 2 multicolor energy going into Jake's next turn. Which is a lot of like floating stuff. It's very similar to the set 20 Android 21, where there's just a lot of floating effects to keep track of, and sometimes you'll forget things. This was like my second match with the deck, period. So I think I realized like halfway through this match, it's like, oh, I hit the wrong card off of Trading Places, and I can't hit this Zamasu. But there's a lot of tiny little things in this deck. It kind of makes it a little difficult to pilot, and I think somebody that's more experienced with this deck could probably just absolutely tear with it.
That's generally the modus operandi of control decks as well. They're typically easy to learn and difficult to master on how to play.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that promo is definitely needed to master this deck, though.
Okay, the promo is necessary to play Expert 21. I completely forgot this leader existed until I think me and Nick one night were reading the promos, and it's like, this card just sucks. Like, why would you ever play this in set 20, Android 21? And then it's like, oh, it's not even meant for the deck. It's meant for like a completely different archetype. And then after realizing that, it's like, oh shit, that's actually like kind of crazy, and got me super interested into playing Expert 21. But yeah, to mirror what Jake said, I feel like Invoker, at least the old Invoker, was a lot like that, where it was a super popular deck, but only a few pilots of the deck like kind of emerged from that, and they continued to like slap with the deck for multiple sets after the deck had had its big ray of light on it. So yeah, control decks, there's something. There's just a lot going on. Yeah. They're very difficult to pilot.
And when you combine Invoker with kind of like a mid-range strategy, it makes you want to like lean more into control. So here I'm just really trying to get some card advantage going, get these Powers of Universe 7 into my drop area so I can get some energy rebate to try and match your energy tempo, because you're just getting everything. And then here I'm just going to go ahead and lay this big secret rare and try my best to clean up the table, because it's kind of hard to tell on this video, but this Zamasu is building up markers quickly, and you're able to restand it, attack with it, block with it. It's just really annoying, especially for an Invoker deck, which is typically weak to Unisons. So I just went ahead and kind of went all out for this play now. And there's a lot of debate here, because if you've been a long time viewer of the channel, I always misread this card whenever I cast it, and I feel like it's going to remove my board too. So I spend a solid 2 minutes here debating if it's going to remove my board as well. Like, did I just mess up? But eventually I make the right call and go ahead and warp everything.
Yeah, you were debating about it, and I was like, why is he thinking so hard? It's like, oh, he doesn't want to tap out. That's why. He really needs that energy to survive. And then it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to blow my board out. And it's like, oh shit, should I tell him? And I did end up telling him, and that was very smart to throw that out there. Usually I want to throw that Zamas on the field and just leave it and not have to worry about it, and just draw cards off of it, turn it sideways, block with it. The card makes 21 draw crazy.
The rebate value is so good on that card.
Yeah, every single energy every time you pop an energy a turn, you just get to draw a card and restand, so it can do a lot for you. And there's not a lot that can touch it, being a 3-drop 19k unison. And something else I like about it is it has the counterattack that if your opponent does lean into it before you let them go or before you let him go past 2 markers, you just tap 3 to negate and board another one with 4 markers. So like whatever they did, just null and void. Very smart hitting the in the name of hunger there. That was, I was really hoping I could board that, and then it has 2 removal effects, one within its Z stack, and then the other with its auto. So you would have had to burn your 18 on one of those from the hand, and I would pretty much get a guaranteed removal of the 6-drop Invoker 17.
Yeah, and from my position here, I just spent my entire last turn taking the board back, and the last thing I want to do is let you play a Z card and then play a Z stat guy from under it and just undo everything I spent my last turn doing. At this point, I'm starting to feel like I'm in better shape. I was able to Tyranny's Cost and shrink your hand, and then remove your draw engine, and then here I'm just pretty much countering whatever you try and put in my way. I feel like for now I have control of the table, but I know that the longer this game goes, where you have the life lead and just a lot of good weapons in your deck, I know the longer this game goes, the worse things will be for me. So I'm really trying to spend as little resources as I can to get the largest amount of damage that I can. And here we're just discussing I should have drew that card when I cast Gohan, but I didn't. It procs off literally anything you do with Z cards. So Jimmy was like, yeah, it really doesn't matter when you draw that card. You should draw it on the first proc, like if you're, in a competitive setting. But this is my literal first game with 17.
Yeah. And any time that you can get a draw early in the turn, it's better to do that because now you have an extra card to play with.
Yeah, you can act on more complete information. So it doesn't benefit me at all to draw the card later.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on when Jimmy mentioned earlier Jake tapping out. I never realized Warriors Universe 7's ability to be able to tap out and yet recover because of the extra card that at the end of your turn, you choose the effect, but Jake typically has been doing it at the end of his turn just as a reminder. But it always gives him an active energy at the end going into his opponent's turn.
Mm-hmm.
Really powerful with Invoker, where all of your extra cards are only costing 1 red-blue, and being able to pitch a less desirable U7 to the drop area in order to get this back in active mode is really nice. And big old secret rare.
Very good. Very, very strong card. I've kind of been on the trend of trying to move away from the secret rare one because I don't want to spend the money on it and I'm just bumming it off of Bancroft. There's been a lot of talk, and this isn't me trying to be like, oh, I'll prove those fuckers wrong, but there's been a lot of talk about this secret rare being just completely, utterly snapped, and that the also we do catch this here. It's draw 2, bounce 1.
Not draw 2, bounce 2. Yeah. We put it. I mean, it's a free play anyway, so we end up just putting him back on the table later.
Yeah, I was like, that card seems really strong, especially if it can just bounce, all my shit.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. But I do protect the 21 with its anti-removal effect. But I've kind of felt like, is it the secret rare that is making 21 very strong, or is it just everything else around it? So I have debated on running like the Gohan secret rare, and then just Baby Hatch is also another option because Baby Hatch is just, it's Baby Hatch.
Yeah.
The card is always going to be good until the heat death of the universe.
Yeah, if you want to play a budget version of this deck, pick up a Baby Hatch reprint for $15 and just have a good day.
And like I can't see a world where having Baby Hatch in your deck is a bad thing. Like the card is fantastic.
Yeah, I want to say it's a column A, column B. Like the card, no doubt, in a blue-green deck is amazing, but in 21 especially, where it's so searchable, like it's a secret you're going to find. It's an android, like cards that just will find them. But it's a board wipe. It gets past barrier. It's hitting the board. You can't stop it. Yes, it doesn't have barrier itself, but it has its own form of protection So you have to, like, as an opponent, you have to deal with it twice. And, like, we played as well, and I made the mistake and forgot that petrification doesn't affect permanents. And,
Yeah,
like,
permanents do not activate.
I walked into, like, oh, I misplayed that. I wouldn't have done that play because I was thinking, oh, I got hit it twice. You know, I got clear and do something else. And just a card that can do so much for energy, especially in set 20. You're not just using your own energy. You can use your opponent's energy initially for the effect, you know, for the play it. Or your opponent's cards.
So it happened quickly there while Bancroft was talking. I had to kind of blind play Kusu on the big droid because I knew the droid had a way of gaining barrier. And I wasn't exactly familiar, and I picked up the leader and read, like, okay, that makes sense. And I just had to hope that that was not going to be able to resolve since the turn player autos will get to go first. And I would be able to bottom deck the 17 before I can gain barrier. And luckily, I was able to resolve the bottom deck off of Kusu, which the card is also snapped in this deck. If you don't have your copies, pick them up while they're cheap.
Yeah. And here I'm able to implement the really one tech slot you get in your Z deck with this Android 17 leader. And I go ahead and drop a cell and try and clean up the board a little bit more. Jimmy has been drawing a ton of cards over the course of the game, and I mean, I've drawn four extra off of Tyranny's costs as well. But I'm hoping if I can continually get these 3-for-1, or in the case of my secret rare, like 5-for-1 effects, I'll be able to grind him out on advantage even with all the extra card draw he's gotten. But that's been coming at the expense of my life total. And after the life gain of the secret rare, you can see now I'm down 3 to 6. So I'm going to have to be spending resources in order to not die throughout these next few turns.
And I didn't really have too much to do on this turn, and I wanted to be able to tap something so that I'm able to get a full value out of my effects. So I was like, I'll just respond with a cell on my own. That seems like a good flavor of the week here, is a little bit of cell.
And that's a good crit to hit. Now, in the match, I don't think Jake, you were caught off by this.
Yeah, I forgot that my cell had the same effect, and I could have done the same thing last turn, which I definitely would have had I remembered. I wasn't really saving those cards underneath him for anything, so should have just attacked twice.
And I do think it was kind of smart just not trying to defend your high life total, because if you've ever played against Expert 21, you know that Hell's ultimate weapon is... if you don't know what Hell's ultimate weapon does, you can tap 7 and then you can play 3 androids alongside him from your energy. And the play is hitting your bad omens and just get full burn. If you have full combo, you have 3 bad omens, Hell's ultimate weapon, you burn your opponent for 3. I see a lot of people when I'm playing them with this deck try to stay at like the 2 to 3 life total, and it's like, well, homie, if I just get to 7 energy, you're dead. So like use those resources while you can and keep that hand advantage and just take the life down, because once you get to there, you're just going to die. And I'm going to be laying my 7th energy, so Hell's ultimate weapon is going to be live. Even at 1, having 1 bad omen is live.
Yeah, and here I just wasn't able to clean up the game. There were other things I could have done, like warping an extra card and going into the big. I think it's a 6-drop Goku with triple attack that you can attack over and over again with. The problem is that I'm underneath that floodgate effect and won't get enough attacks to threaten all 6 of Jimmy's life anyway. So Bad Omen just cleans the game up there, and another strong showing from Jimmy this weekend.
And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons down below, links in the descriptions. Bye.
You could say that by a lot less condescending.